Greetings. This is Mushtaq Memon, Professor Emeritus from Washington State University. Today I'm going to share with you a very unique experience of traveling to Republic of Georgia. The title of this presentation is Veterinary Business Innovation by Georgia Woman Entrepreneur. Republic of Georgia is located close to Russia. Russia happens to be in the north, as you can see on this map. And in the south is Armenia, and in the southeast is Azerbaijan and Turkey. So this was a voluntary assignment for me, which means that I was not paid for my time. At that time, I was employed at Washington State University. So I was very thankful to the university to let me go for about 2 weeks to perform this assignment. And my time was voluntary, but obviously my airline ticket, room and board, and things like that were paid by USAID. And in the country, it was coordinated and implemented by US based NGO CNFA. And this is the office of CNFA in Tbilisi, in capital of Georgia. This is a staff of the CNFA, very helpful staff for my assignment. So the lady named Miss Lamar, Georgian, and she wanted to open a business of animal agriculture supplies, and she is non-veterinarian. So she requested USAID if she could get some help from the United States. So here I was. I said, I've never been to Georgia, so let me try this and see this country and see how I can help. So I discussed with Ms. Lamar quite a bit, which I will give you more details. So Ms. Lamar, along with just like other Georgians, they speak their own Georgian language, which is a very nice and beautiful language. But unfortunately, I did not speak or understand the language. So CNFA provided me a translator or interpreter, you can call. So here on this table, you can see next to me is my interpreter, and across the table is Miss Lamar. So we discussed for almost a whole day. The first day to try to figure it out what Miss Lamar likes to do, what her goals are, and how she intends to have this business. But as you can see here, that Georgian language and right inside on the top of the shelf there. So her main complaint was Miss Lamar's complaint that she didn't have too many visitors or customers. Barely any veterinarian has stopped by to buy some of her products. I did go through the whole inventory of her availability of the vaccines and antibiotics and things like that. So we planned something different. I told Ms. Lamar that I have this idea. What we can do is offer a free animal reproduction for dairy cow program, because most of the dairies were in that area. But it would be free. There'd be some cost that she has to bear. So she heavily advertised that, and pretty soon we had about 25 to 30 veterinarians signed up. So this is a group picture of some of the veterinarians who were available there for the picture. And so we started, that training. Now, what that training involved was, I told Ms. Lamar that we need to collect some reproductive tracts of cows from slaughterhouse, because when cows are slaughtered for meat purposes, their reproductive tract is of no use. So even for the United States here for our training, we collect the reproductive tracts so we can show our trainees, where the reproductive tract parts are and how pregnancy happens and things like that. So here is Ms. Lamar trying to orient our participants, our trainees, telling them, what we intend to do, which we had already discussed and finalized the program, and then emphasizing them that they are to be on time and listen to the professor who has come from the United States. And I had access to a small board that I could write it down. I was lucky to find quite a few of my lecture slides in the computer. So I did show them, on the white wall in the office. So the reproductive tracts which were collected, a very large number of them were from pregnant cows. So that was the first thing that I tried to create impact on the trainee's mind. That see, listen, these are cows which are already pregnant, but why they were slaughtered? Obviously, these cows were not checked, or the veterinarians were not available to check for them. So this cow extract you see on the table there, very large one. I assume this was about close to 3 months pregnant. The pregnancy in the cow is about 9 months. So if the owner knew, would have waited for 6 more months to have this cow calf. So he or she would have a new calf as well as a lot of milk from the cow. So I think that was quite a message for them that they ought to be a little more, you know, trained in those areas. Now, they were very much interested in artificial insemination. So on reproductive tract, which is pregnant, it's hard to do that, but I try to at least demonstrate how the pipette is passed and how you go about and try to inseminate in the uterus. And then, these students went through, I shouldn't say students, but they were trainees, veterinarians, and went through quite a few different things. They were very curious. I got impression that many of them had not never seen a live, reproductive tract in front of them on the table. So, which I can understand that many of our developing countries do not have opportunities to show trainees these kind of reproductive tract and then demonstrate on that. One thing was very curious and very interesting. Now, this is a slide from a previous one assignment to Russia. And here you could see on the left-hand side are my colleagues, three veterinarians. We checked quite a few cows, and I'm palpating this cow here, you can see. And on the right-hand side is the another farm where I try to explain the early pregnancy diagnosis in the cow. What I found out, my visit in Russia, that in former Soviet Union, all the countries, including Russia, they taught in veterinary colleges to start pregnancy diagnosis at 3 months of pregnancy, which is too late for us in the United States. We like to diagnose this pregnancy early enough so that the cows which are not pregnant, the owner or the farm manager could think in different way. Our goal in the United States is that those students, veterinary students who are interested in bovine reproduction, should be able to diagnose pregnancy as early as 45 days. Now, if you've got a lot of experience, I have a few years of that. I could diagnose probably in late 30s, 35, 37, 38 days in that neighborhood. But to do that, there's a special way to do that, which is what we call membrane slip technique. That you try to pick up this chorioallantois within the wall of the uterus and you slip it. And this is what I'm trying to show with my fingertips. This is what Dr. Pavel in Russia is supposed to do. So we went through all that. So I knew that this is the kind of weakness in the system there. So I went ahead and tried to explain to them how membrane slip is, because many of these tracks were, with the pregnancy in them. So I asked them to practice. So they were very pleased with the technique to see there is something new that they learned there. Then they were very anxious and ambitious about doing some work on the farms, neighborhood farms, which I accompanied with them. And then we checked quite a few cows which were not fertile, or some diagnosis of pregnancy, and then staging estrous cycle. Now, whenever I go to these countries, the big plus for me is that I like to learn about people, how in this situation, how Georgians live, how their lifestyle is. So I requested Ms. Lamar, she organized a few of my visits. So here I am in one of the very large family gathering where people have gotten together, and there was a host who supplied the food and other things, and there were quite a few guests. Most of them were from extended family. So each one of those guests got up and had a glass of wine, and then they made a toast to the host. And the thing was, for me, being a non-smoker, it was not easy to sit in that room with quite a few of our friends over there, which were smoking quite a bit, and liquor and everything. But I learned a lot to see how they appreciate their host by toasting during the gathering. I kept on thinking that some of those folks could maybe don't carry on for too long, but they enjoy doing that. Then Sunday came around, and I asked my interpreter, I said, what are you doing today? Because we are not working on Sunday. She said, well, she was going to go to church. I said, you are? So I said, would you mind if I go along with you? Because those are also good places to see how people worship. She said, sure, you can. So, but she warned me that the church she is going to go, that is on top of the mountain. I said, top of the mountain? How do you build church there? She said, well, I'll tell you more, but let us go. But I want to let you know that it's about 400 or so steps which were built, as you can see on left hand side. My interpreter is walking up there, and if you see close enough, that there are, steps going all the way up, and it wasn't easy for many of our elder people they had to take quite a few different breaks. Well, come to find out, on your right hand side, you see the church was nothing but a cave. So this church was inside the cave where people came and prayed. And I inquired them, I said, what was the need of doing this, building this church in the cave? So they explained to me that during Soviet Union, because of the communist and socialist concepts, when they took over these countries, they closed all the worship places, churches, mosques, synagogues. So, and they used those buildings for different purposes. And I could see that because in Soviet Union broke in 91. So I was in Latvia in 1992, and I saw that some beautiful, beautiful churches, and but they were used for storage of grain and things like that. So they said that because Soviet soldiers would come and check these churches, so but nobody would come up there in the cave. So that cave church stayed open for people to go there. Obviously, it was kind of secret for the community to keep the church there. I really enjoyed that visit, by the way. It was Orthodox church, belief, and they had a session or two on meditation. So I had really enjoyable time there. Then came to time about visiting the capital, Tbilisi, a beautiful city. A lot of, as you can see, European old buildings and beautiful, well-maintained parks with a lot of young people visiting there. And the markets, which is one of my favorite places whenever I go to these places. You see here beautiful, nice, fresh fruits, and then quite a few different ways that they try to preserve these fruits. You can see things are hanging up there from the roof. The neighborhood were also beautiful. I walked around quite a bit, and you see the touch of that, old culture, and almost like you are in French Quarter somewhere, all these balconies and things like that. And then other striking thing was that I happened to see a mosque. You could see this, architecture about the mosque, and there were obviously some Muslims in Tbilisi who would come and pray. And I have a feeling that maybe these things were introduced during Ottoman Empire. So the Turks came from Turkey and went all the way and conquered most of the Europe, and they introduced Islam and also built mosques and things like that. And then the weekend markets were another one of the fun places that I always enjoy. And here you could see on the left hand side, this lady is having some candies soaked in chocolate. And then on the right hand side is the kebabs. And again, I got curious asking people. I said, "Is it Georgian kebab or is it Turkish kebab?" They said, "Well, they probably came from Turkey, but we have our own Georgian kebabs." But I really enjoyed that. So I always tell even our old trainees in the United States here that please, if you go out and try to eat food from outside, make sure it's hot. Recently made, not cold food because there may be some contamination and things like that. One thing I always have admired in Russia and former Soviet Union countries that these folks love music and art. And every big city you go to, they have these opera houses and music exhibits. So this happened to be again in Tulbasi, and these young, ladies are playing the music there. The children are always dear to people, and they are family-oriented people. And I really also enjoy to see these children playing everywhere. And I just couldn't control myself to take a picture of the mother and this child, which you can see is very cute. So with that, I am going to stop. And if you have any questions and comments, please ask on YouTube channel. I'll be happy to answer those. In the meantime, I wish you well. Bye bye.